Hello, let's keep going, let's fly, I said. And then I wrote two tests for routes, for routing, for user routing from front end to the back end functions. And then I start to wrote, first I wrote update user. And then I wrote update password for user. And then I looked at this thing and I got very upset and I was crying and I was whining and I was very sad for years and years. So these years passed by and now I need to deal with this. That's wrong, completely wrong. I'll try to explain why, and I try to explain what I did. Okay, so we have wrong parameter in the function which creates path from front end to the back end, from front end to the back end method. So for instance, if we use create, users create path, which leads to the create user repository function. Where is that? That's create user repository function. That action by user ID here is okay, is normal. I would say I need to think about it too. But the function is like internal, so most likely it's okay to have action by user ID here. But user by action ID, action by user ID, to give this routes, where's the create user? Where's the create user? Path, update password. Oh my goodness, can't find create user. Yeah, that one, create. Create. So it has a request. In the request body we have email, password, which we send for the user, the role of the user, status of the user, and action by user ID. And these three parameters are completely wrong to be here because we cannot rely on them. Because why? Because moving from the front end to back end, these parameters, they can be intercepted and faked. So for instance, if I am normal user, I have my session, I'm creating a new user if I'm creating a new user, or maybe I'm updating new user because in update request, I have also user ID, user data, which I want to change, for instance, password of the user. And here I have user role, which can be for me, if I'm a user, it will be user. But I can change it. to admin user, intercepting front-end request which goes to the backend. And here where's I'm checking it. Update user. I check in an update user repository function. So that's the problem, because I'm setting the role there, which, for instance, if I'm user and I'm switched it to admin, now I can change moderator, or I can change, like, if, for instance, I can switch it to their root user. So now I can change the user data for admins, for moderators. That's completely wrong. So I come to the conclusion, which I have to come earlier, but right now I'm coming to a conclusion that I need to remove that parameter from here. So generally speaking, I cannot rely on the crucial information getting from the front end. I need only on the routes, only information in request body. For instance, for update user, I only need the data which I want to change. Or here, for instance, on the update password string path, in the body I have only to have new password. Even old password I shouldn't have coming from front end. And I cannot have action by user ID. I can have this. I only can have user ID and new information, which is new password here, coming from front end, because can be intercepted and faked. So I need to adjust my front end router functions using auth service, which I already wrote here. And what it does, I wrote auth service. There is a three functions here. It's a class. It has new repository, instance of the class of user repository. It has authenticate user. It has logout user. Authenticate user on login, logout user on logout, and get session user, using it for all operations inside of users DOM, like inside of users influence. I guess I can say like this. So authenticate user, what it does, we request first of all, it's not easy. It's not easy here. Wait a second. I need to tell about these things, because I introduced new things into the index.ts, our main entrance to the backend program. I introduced new app use expression, express JSON, and app use session, because I will be relying for the user login, logout, like getting session, I'll be require, no, I will be base my code will be based on cookie. So we have secret key for the session, which we'll be using. We have resave false. We have save uninitialized false. We have HTTP only true and secure true, because same site legs and max age 1 day. It is 1 day. It's quite standard setup for this, for session cookie. Like I did install express session too. If we look it up in package.json, express session, its types, and that's where's expression, because I need it on the in the build too, so that's in dependencies, but I don't need in the build dev dependencies, so I mean I don't need types. Types express session, there is express session, which guarding the sessions in the browser. So now we have our service. So that function authenticate user. It has session net. It has from request. It has email, password. Now we are logging in user with email and password to login user, and we on success, if it is login is successful, email and password are good, then we are going to get user from it, which is type of safe user, and then we're going to create a session user, which has object, has user ID, user role, user status, user email, which we can look it up later on from the session. So not taken not from the front end, but taking this information of user ID actor from session cookie. We need to get actor ID from session cookie. Then we're going to save that session user into the session.user cookie kind of thing, object, which we can get it from later on. So that's why pass request here. Request session is here. It's coming from our types. Request session is extension for the request type of express. So we have added to normal request from express some more information user, generally user. Okay. Session user comes from user types. Here it is. Where is it? Session user, users, types. And here's the session user. It generally has ID, role, status, email. the all information we need if we update something, if we create new user from admin point of view, or from root point of view, or from moderator, if we ban user, if we suspend user. All of this information on actor for actor will be taken from this type, from the request session user. So the logout user, what we do is generally just destroy that session user information. I mean, that session we're going to destroy from request. And if it's we awaiting, because logout is generally is async, so we awaiting for new promise, which returns void. If it has error, we cancel it and reject, or we resolve. Generally small functions, but they little tricky, I would say, because we need to implement here express session tag, kind of. So now the third function is generally just get session user, so get information from session. So we return in request session user when we're doing some changes or doing some search for some information and blah blah blah. We also have middleware. What is middleware doing? It's also class, but it's simple class. It's generally require auth from session. So we have request session here, response, next function, and then we're going to, if we didn't find the user, I mean, that's not getting the information, it's just testing if we have information. If we have information, if we don't have information on user, we return for one, which is authentication required, and given void return, hence void here on return. But if we do have, we just proceed to the next function. So now what do I need to do is generally fix my routes functions. So we have middleware somewhere here, like if we're updating password. If we log in, then we have from auth here and so on, but we'll do it together. I'll make a pause, show the change, move on, make a pause, show the change, move on, because that's quite upsetting, because I need to change that once here. And we also need to change what we also removing. We're removing all role, that one, action by user from here. And in the routes, I mean, not in routes, I mean in the repository functions, we are getting, for instance, like what is it, create user. We are getting this one not from the get user by ID function. We're getting this information from the session cookie. Or like if we not create user, if we updating user, login user now, if we update password, for instance, I was getting this information from get user by ID, user ID here. Now I'm going to get this information from, by the way, no, that's not that. get user ID. I should have here. Okay. So action by user ID here. I was getting it from front end. Now I'm going to get it from the session cookie. This information. I cannot get it from front end. I need it from getting from request session object. So that's bad news, but good news is and that's why tests are good, because I noticed it while doing the tests. If I would notice it later on the road, there would be lots of overwhelming changes to the already working code. So that's my bad and that's my good, kind of on the edge of the sword right now I am. So doing it wrong, but doing it right now. Okay, we'll move to the routes for right now, and we'll start doing not routes tests. By the way, tests, I will not be redoing tests. I will be just finishing them. I'll be just a little bit changes these tests and finishing them. So because these tests are really not necessarily anyway, but I will do a couple of tests on my own. I will not get them record, but I will change these functions which I will record, but I will test them on my own. A couple of tests, not too many tests, just to make sure they do really work. Just maybe one for each, not getting deep into it like I did before. So we're moving back to routes, and based on our auth service right now, which we wrote, I wrote this one. Quite small functions, but a little tricky. Because session need to be involved, express session rep, and so on. Types, I needed to add types here, middleware here. So it's kind of simple, but not too simple. And by the way, they can be later on, they can be changed, adjusted, the code added there, but not right now. Right now, we'll keep it in simple. Okay, so let's move back to routes. And let's start changing them. We will start from the top, I guess, and move on from there. So on the route side, I used middleware, required auth. What it does, middleware, again, let's go again for just in case. If we do not see in request session user, we send to frontend status 4.1 authentication required, and then return. If we do see the user, we just go to the next function. So routes, get all users. I choose that function use only authenticated user. So I set it here. Next function is this one. It runs. So if we don't see the user, we fall out into the error, catch error, and then oh well, not this one, catch error this function. But if we see the user in the session, Then we go to the next function, which is this one, and all of the same for the next one. I set it here into the get user by email. I said, let me close them. I set it here to get count of the users. I set it in the search users. I didn't set them on create user because this functionality is possible when you are not registered. So I'm just checking the limit of tries of create users. I set it into update users. I set it into the update passwords of the users. I set it into the delete users. Why? What is going on? Oh, I see. I set it into the restore users. Why I did that? I need to do this. I set it into the suspend users, into unsuspend users. That's the one. Oh, that's strange. Ban users. Unban users. Login is also user can no, it must be unknown. So I'm not setting here, just setting the limits of how many logins can be done per 30 seconds. I set it into activate users. I set it into create users. I set it get users by ID right here. And that would be it for the route work. So unless I forgot something, I will move on repository functions. I just need a second to think about it. So I went to the repository functions, methods. I'm not going to touch get user by ID method, and I'm not going to touch get user by email method because they are internal. They used for login logout thing. So for login logout routes. Also, I started changing this function, find users. And here I started to change, because of that, I started to change, not because of this build. Well, I started to change, where is that? Login helpers. I changed the, not start, I finished to change this role hierarchy check. I removed there was connection, the first parameter. And now we're using session ID, so I don't need any more I don't need any more database check for user, for actor user. So I removed it. And so actually this is no more async. This is now normal function. we don't return promise. We don't return promise. Throw any error. This is not await. Do we have await here somewhere? I don't think so. We don't have await. It's a little dirty function. I could remove these lines, but it was a little bit different logic, so I prefer it stays yet. And so at any mistake it returns false, otherwise it returns true. And I don't see any way await here, so it is normal function without async await. And so I've done this. Now I'll have problems with this function everywhere. Helpers. I'll check control, and because I used it pretty much often through this class, and so we have lots of like this doesn't except for I have right now 3, so I need to remove connection from here. I need to put session user here, and that would be working. But before I need to where is it? Where is it? Validate user. Validate user. User. Active user. I see active user here. Oh, I don't see E. Action by user. Ah, here. So I need to remove this, for instance, remove that query get user by ID because we have session. We don't need it anymore. So another chain, another query to the database not needed anymore because of session user. And I'll go slowly, not slowly for you, but slowly for me, very carefully changing that functions whenever I see that error here. So that's my plan so far. It won't be too long, I think, but I'll need to make these changes. But for today, it's about 2 a.m. In the morning. So right now I'm going to close this video. I'll see you next video. I'll have a good day. Subscribe, comment, please. Like, dislike, please. And I'll see you in next video. Thank you.